Keanu Reeves was not the type to make a fuss about himself. In fact, he despised the spotlight when it followed him beyond the screen. That's why, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon in a small-town diner just outside Santa Fe, he was content sipping his coffee, hidden behind a pair of aviator sunglasses. It was his version of bliss, anonymity, good coffee, and the hum of ordinary life around him. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. The door chimed, and in walked a young girl, no older than 14, clutching a worn-out journal to her chest. Her frail frame and the slight drag of her steps hinted at a deeper story. She scanned the room, her eyes lighting up when they landed on Keanu. She hesitated, her lips trembling as if trying to muster courage. "Are you Keanu Reeves?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu looked up, startled. He was about to deny it, to protect his solitude, but something in her eyes, a mixture of awe and desperation, stopped him. He nodded with a gentle smile. "That's me. What's your name?" "Emily," she said, her hands clutching the journal tighter. I'm sorry to bother you, but can I sit with you for a moment?" "Just a moment, I promise." Keanu gestured to the seat across from him. "Of course, Emily. Take your time." As she slid into the booth, she opened her journal and flipped through pages filled with drawings, quotes, and what looked like a bucket list. "I don't have much time left," she blurted out, her voice trembling. "The doctors say I have a few months, maybe less. And I know this sounds crazy, but meeting you, it's on my list." Keanu's heart sank. He'd heard stories like this before, but never in such a raw, face-to-face encounter. "I'm honored to be on your list," he said softly. "What else is on there?" Emily's eyes lit up as she turned the journal toward him. "See for yourself." The list was filled with heartfelt dreams. "Ride in a hot air balloon. Dance in the rain. Tell my story." Keanu noticed one that was circled. "Star in a movie." "You want to be in a movie?" he asked, grinning. Emily nodded, her cheeks flushing. "Just a small role. A line maybe. Something to prove I existed." Keanu leaned back thinking. Then, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "You know, I might be able to help with that." Emily's eyes widened. "You mean it?" "Absolutely," he said, "but only if you promise to have fun with it." The next morning, Keanu showed up at Emily's house to meet her mother, Karen. Karen was cautious at first, unsure how much hope to pin on a chance encounter. But Keanu's kindness quickly disarmed her. "Miss Thompson, I just want you to know," Keanu said over a cup of tea in their modest living room, "that I'm not here out of pity. Emily is an incredible young woman, and she inspires me. I'd like to spend some time with her, if that's okay with you." Karen wiped a tear from her cheek. "Mr. Reeves, you've already made her so happy. She hasn't smiled like this in months. Thank you for just being here." "Please, call me Keanu," he said with a warm smile, "and it's my privilege. But I do have one condition." Karen raised an eyebrow. "Condition?" "That you and I get to talk too. I want to know how you're doing in all this." Karen was taken aback. "Me? I'm fine. I mean, it's Emily who needs." "Karen," Keanu interrupted gently, "I know you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Let's not forget about you." Karen nodded, her defenses crumbling. "Thank you. That means more than you know." Keanu and Emily's adventures began the next day. They started with a private tour of a local art gallery, where Emily admired paintings and sculptures. Keanu encouraged her to sketch something, and together, they spent an hour drawing silly caricatures of each other. Emily's laughter echoed through the gallery, filling the space with a kind of joy that made everyone stop and smile. Later, they visited a nearby park. Keanu bought Emily an ice cream cone and challenged her to a race down a grassy hill. Her laughter turned into delighted squeals as she tumbled halfway down, her energy briefly forgetting her frailty. At the bottom of the hill, they lay on the grass, catching their breath. "This is better than I imagined," Emily said, staring at the sky. "And we're just getting started," Keanu replied, his signature warm smile lighting up his face. In the evenings, Keanu would often stay behind to chat with Karen. They spoke about Emily's childhood, her dreams, and Karen's fears about the future. "I try to stay strong for her," Karen admitted one night, her voice barely a whisper, "but sometimes I feel like I'm failing her." "You're not failing," Keanu said firmly. "You're giving her love, time, and memories. That's more than enough." Karen looked at him, her eyes brimming with gratitude. "You don't have to do any of this, you know." "I know," Keanu said, But I want to. Emily reminds me of the beauty in simple, honest dreams. And you remind me of what it means to be a hero. Karen laughed softly, wiping her tears. A hero? I'm just a mom trying to get by. A hero doesn't need a cape, Keanu said with a wink. Just a heart like yours. Within days, Keanu made good on his promise. He called in a few favors, convincing a director friend to create a short scene, just for Emily. The set was small, intimate, and buzzing with energy. Emily's role was simple but meaningful. A girl who shares a heartfelt moment with a stranger on a park bench. Keanu naturally played the stranger. When the cameras rolled, Emily delivered her line with a sincerity that left the crew in tears. Even Keanu, the consummate professional, found himself momentarily choked up. When the director yelled, "Cut!" the room erupted in applause. Emily's smile was radiant. "I can't believe this is real," she whispered to Keanu. "It's real," he said, ruffling her hair. "And so are you." The next day, Keanu invited Emily and Karen to dinner at his favorite local restaurant. Over plates of pasta and fresh bread, they shared stories about their lives. Emily asked Keanu about his favorite movie roles, and he, in turn, asked her about her favorite books. "I love fantasy stories," Emily said. "Books where ordinary people get to do extraordinary things." "You're one of those people, you know," Keanu said. "You've done more extraordinary things in these few days than most people do in a lifetime." Emily blushed, hiding her smile behind her napkin. "Only because of you." "No," he replied firmly. "You're the one with the courage to dream big. I just gave you a little push." Months passed, and Keanu kept in touch with Emily and Karen, checking in on them and sharing moments from his life to lift their spirits. But one day, the calls stopped coming. Karen reached out to let him know Emily had passed peacefully, surrounded by family. Keanu mourned in his own quiet way, carrying the weight of her story with him. But then, something extraordinary happened. One evening, as he was scrolling through his emails, he stumbled upon a link. It was a video titled, "Emily's Last Wish." He clicked it, and there she was, smiling into the camera, her journal in hand. "If you're watching this, it means I've moved on," she said, her voice steady. "But I wanted to leave something behind, a reminder to everyone that life is about moments. Big ones, small ones, and everything in between. And to Keanu, thank you for giving me my moment. You didn't just make my dream come true, you made me feel seen." Keanu sat there, tears streaming down his face. He realized that the twist wasn't in Emily's passing or her bucket list. It was in her courage, her ability to find joy and meaning even in the face of the inevitable. Years later, Keanu would recount this story in an interview, his voice thick with emotion. "Emily taught me that kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up, being present, and making someone feel like they matter."